Schools and collectives are starting to fight back, and I just got to ask, what took so long?
In the world full of podcasts, he's the undisputed heavyweight champion of hot takes, an Auburn sports homer, master of the book, and message board legend. Get your buttons buttoned and your hats flattened because the Top Button Podcast is about to kick off, and you don't want to miss your courtside seat. Now, here's your host, Charlie Five.
Yes, sir. We're back. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle Rush, a.k.a. Charlie Five, and we are ready to get after it. Happy Wednesday. We're talking NIL today. We're talking NIL. We're talking about schools fighting back and how that will play into Auburn as well, and how Auburn plays into this whole thing that's going on with players today, buyouts, contract enforcement, everything that's going on. So much to talk about. We'll get all into that in just a second. And then obviously what Auburn's looking at to complete the portal, complete their roster from the portal in basketball. So before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. Go to unclekeithsredsauce.com. Use coupon code TheBarn30 to take 30% off your order. We bumped it up to 30% for the rest of the month. Time's running out. If you're going to try it, now's the time. Buy in bulk, save big. If you live close to a Publix in the state of Alabama, you can get some there. If not, you got to go online, man. You got to go online, get you some of that black top, red top, and support an Auburn family at the same time. If you love salsa, you need to give this stuff a try. Uncle Keith's Red Sauce. It's good, y'all. All right. There's been a saying that's going around. There's an argument when you talk about NIL. When people complain about players, their players on their team that they cheer for leaving or going elsewhere, there's always a retort. There's always a comeback, and it's like it goes something kind of like, well, coaches can go get raises. Coaches can go at any point in time. Coaches can go do this. Coaches can go do that. Why can't the players? If the coaches can do it, why can't the players do it as well? And that's always been like the point to like shut down the conversation. But the big problem with that analogy or that comparison is that for the longest time, players have not been bound with any type of penalty should they break their contract. If a coach decides to leave, he can leave. Absolutely. But either he or the school that he's going to is going to have to pay a large sum of money to buy out a contract unless that particular school decides to waive the buyout. So there's penalties. There's prices to pay for breaching a contract. There's prices to pay from the school side for breaching a contract. If you fire a coach, Auburn should know this very, very well. Auburn fans, anyway, when you fire a coach before his contract is up, and there is buyout language in the contract, the school will then owe the coach the buyout money. There's never been anything really that players ever had to deal with as far as buyouts go. You could go and come as you please, even if you're under some type of agreement. Contracts were always like binding on one side. It's kind of like an insurance policy. You can leave your insurance company at any point in time. There's no penalty, but as long as you pay that premium, the insurance company can't leave you. It's been very similar to that. It's been very similar to that type of arrangement up until just recently. And I assume maybe this language has been in the contracts all along, and you use a stern language to say, you better not leave. You're bound to this contract. But nobody has really wanted to be that first school that enforced one. Nobody's really wanted to be the first person to, I guess, go on the offensive against a a child, against a student athlete. No big school has wanted to be that that evil person that's attacking a younger person, I guess. Well, that seems to be over with the Iamaleavas, and now even Chad Baker-Mazara. These may be some of the most important players in the history of NIL for all the wrong reasons. It's obviously started with Nico Iamaleava trying to hold Tennessee hostage. I have no idea the buyout language and whatnot around the Tennessee situation, but it kind of plays into his brother's situation, and we'll get to that in just a second. But you try to hold a school hostage, and finally the school says, fine, go. You think you can get $4 million elsewhere? We're not doing it. Go. And the shadiness of going behind Tennessee's back when you're not even in the portal started to show other teams, dang, is this really the guy we want? Do we really want this type of player? Can we trust this type of player? Even if you have all the correct language in the contract? Is this someone you can trust? He thought he was going to Ohio State. He thought he could go to Oregon. He thought he could go to any of these big schools. Oh, sure, they'll pay me. And one by one, they all pulled out. I was so proud. I was so proud of a lot of these teams that I generally hate. I say hate. Generally root against, pulling out and standing up to this quote unquote strong arming from Nico Iamaleava and whoever is giving him advice, which is turning out to be a complete fool. And he ends up having to go to UCLA, where he's going to make less money and pay more taxes than he was at Tennessee. It's like poetic justice. A worse team, a worse coaching staff, less money, less gross money, and then less net money as well. Could not be more poetic. Well, his brother follows him from Arkansas to UCLA. His brother signed with Arkansas in January, stayed one semester, I'm sure took a ton of money to sign, and then collected a lot of money up until then. Arkansas's got bank. And he transfers to UCLA, and you see the athletic director from Arkansas say, we fully support Razor's Edge, which I think is all the name of Arkansas's collective, which is an awesome name, by the way. That is a fantastic collective name, especially if you're an old school wrestling fan. I know if you listen to Village Vice, they talk about wrestling all the time. We support them. If they want to enforce buyouts, we support them 100%. So now you have both of these kids going to UCLA, and more than likely they're going to have to be taking a lot of their money should they go all the way to court, or if there's any type of settlement, which I'm sure there's going to have to be some type of settlement. Hey, you're going to go to UCLA, and you're going to have to take a lot of the money you earned there and pay your binding contracts that you signed. We're adults now, and we want to take get paid big money like adults. Well, you know what? You got to play by the rules as well. You don't just get a pass. You don't get to have your cake and eat it too and fall back on, hey, I'm a student athlete. Don't take advantage of me. I'm a student athlete. No. That day is over. Nico and Madden Iamaleava and Chad Baker-Mazara may go down as some of the most important players, most important collegiate athletes in college history for all the wrong reasons. We're going to talk about Chad's situation here in just a second. But before we do that, let's give a quick shout out to mybookie.ag. Use coupon code BARN, BARN, for a 50% deposit bonus. Give them $100. They're going to give you 50 back in free play to take to the sports book and hit any way you can possibly imagine, any sport you can imagine, any line you can imagine. You got free play to go win big. So definitely take advantage of that, if nothing else, and go have a blast. And then take that money and head on over to rowback.com. Take that money you win, head on over to rowback.com. Use coupon code BUTTON20 to take 20% off. They just dropped some new summer polos. They're sick. Everything they got looks good. Everything they got feels good. I've got a ton of Rowback stuff now. I may be just an all-in Rowback guy from now on. Definitely need to show them some love. Legitimately, anything you can imagine. Shorts, joggers, pants, polos, pullovers, hoodies, hats, swim trunks, putter head covers. If you play golf, they even got putter head covers. Awesome. Check them out, rowback.com. We'll be back right after this. Let's talk about the Chad situation. If you're unfamiliar with the whole situation. So Chad signed a deal, and Auburn starting at the beginning of this year, really went hard with the verbiage and contracts for all sports, making these contracts much more binding for at least a year term. Football and basketball. And I think what you're seeing and why Auburn's been able to have so much success with retention is probably because of this buyout language, probably because of what Chad's going through right now. So Chad signs a deal, well over $1 million. I say well over $1 million. It's over $1 million, 1.1, 1.2, something like that. Doesn't matter. It's seven figures. Either during the NCAA championship, in one of those weeks in between the NCAA tournament, I want to say I think it was like before the Final Four. Signs a deal for a year deal. Chad's coming back. Okay, 100%. He basically has been doing the whole, hyping it up, run it back, all the cryptic tweets, things like that. Auburn then signs Keyshawn Hall. And Chad catches wind that Keyshawn Hall gets more money than him. And he's hurt. Oh, I'm hurt. Mind you that Keyshawn Hall is the Big 12 leading scorer. Mind you, he's 6'7", 235 pounds and can play three positions, and he's a superstar. Forget all that. And forget the fact that I was happy when I signed my contract as a 26-year-old grown adult. Now that somebody's making more money than me, I'm hurt. So I need more. And not only do I need more, I need to be matched. I need to make as much money as him. Well, Auburn said no. You signed a deal. You agreed to this. You signed a deal. We may bump you a little bit, which they did. They bumped him a little bit, but it wasn't anywhere near closing the gap between he and Keyshawn Hall. I don't have any problem saying multiple people are talking about it right now. You heard it on the Field of 68. If you listen to that podcast, Keyshawn Hall's making just a little bit over $2 million. Chad, there's a pretty substantial gap in between what Chad was making and what Keyshawn Hall was making. I'm hurt. You got to pay me. We just got to the Final Four. I know I've been ejected from a few games, and, I know that I'll just go into a complete shell at times, and then sometimes I'll score 20 points. But I'm hurt. You got to pay me that money. I'm standing on that. You got to match him, or I'm done. I'm going into the portal. Auburn says, okay, you're welcome to do that, but you signed a deal, and there is buyout language. You will owe us a vast majority of this contract. You won't do nothing. You won't enforce that. So Auburn says, what you've been offered is all you're getting. So Chad says, fine, I'm going into the portal. And then Auburn immediately says, okay, we're enforcing the buyout portion of this contract. So wherever you go, you will owe us a large sum of this contract. Some people say it's in the neighborhood of $600,000. Some people say it's in the neighborhood of $800,000. That's grown man stuff, man. That's big boy stuff. You sign big boy deals. You play big boy games. You're trying to win big boy prizes. Hey, you're going to have to pay the price too. You're going to have to pay big boy prices too when you make decisions. So now, I mean, it's been what, 6 days, 5-6 days since he's been in the portal. Chad's a pretty good player. In just a vacuum, you would think there are going to be a lot of teams that would come to the table with, hey, we'll throw out $2 million for sure. And honestly, in a regular situation, in a different situation, it probably makes sense for Chad because this is his last chance to make this amount of money in 1 year of playing basketball. So it makes sense, but don't sign deals. Don't sign contracts if that's your goal. So he's been in the portal for what, 5 or 6 days now? Hasn't been on a single visit. You've heard, Arkansas's called him. Kentucky's called him. Kentucky's signing people left and right. Continues to fill up guards. I don't think that's going to be a solution. Arkansas just decided, I don't know if it's 100% official, but a lot of their message board and their insiders are saying they've pulled out. They have no interest. A lot of schools are pulling out. So now what do you do? Now, I don't even know that you really have a pathway to come back to Auburn. I don't know that it makes sense. I'll trust Bruce, and if anybody can make it work, Bruce can. But you come back to Auburn, and now you're worried about a grudge. You're worried about, at what point in time could things go toxic, especially between him and Keyshawn Hall, who would have to be on the floor at the same time. And unfortunately, that's the reputation he's built. So what do you do? He's in a bind. I think somebody's going to take a gamble on him, but more than likely, he's going to take a pay cut. I mean, just do the math. If you're paying, if he was making somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.4 after his bump, which was probably pretty close, do that math: $600,000 to $800,000. Somebody's going to have to pay him $2 million or a little bit over just for him to break even of what he would make at Auburn. He's going to be one of the more important players in the history of basketball for all the wrong reasons. For trying to for making an emotional decision, which is kind of his MO. Not being able, you're reinforcing the stereotype of you that you continue to make emotional decisions. And this is you're paying a huge price. I don't wish anything obviously bad on Chad. I want him to land on his feet somewhere. But he's learning a grown-up lesson. He's been playing student athlete for quite a while now. And he's 25, 26 years old. He does not have the same excuse that an 18 or 19-year-old has if they were to get into one of these deals. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with him moving forward. I'm proud of On to Victory. I'm proud of Bruce. I'm proud of everybody in this situation. And I honestly think it's just great for college sports in general. You had to get some type of leverage back from the athletes. You had to. They had it all. I mean, you had no leverage whatsoever in this whole situation. And it just makes you wonder why it took this long. Everybody was waiting. Everybody's been waiting for everybody to pull the trigger for the first time. Everybody's been waiting for every other school to make that move before they think it's okay, because you never want to be the first in this situation. You don't want to be the bad guy. So what's left for Auburn? Chad, you've got pretty much not a full roster, but you've got at least a starting lineup and a couple of backups, and you're waiting on what happens with Tahad. But what's left? Is there anything left? The portal's closed officially, so you don't have to worry about. Well, there was nobody else to worry about except for Tahad. So Tahad is either coming back or he's staying in the NFL. I'm sorry, staying in the NBA draft. He's not going into the portal. I know there were some people that tried to stir that rumor up either yesterday or the night before, but that's not going to happen. Bruce Pearl talked about it, where there's definitely one more person that they're looking for. Definitely one more addition they want to add. There's been discussion. Should it be a guard? Should it be another big? And per Bruce Pearl, it seems like they want to look for another big guy. You got Keyshawn Murphy. You got Emeka Apurum. And maybe you're just not 1,000% confident in Emeka being able to be 100% up to speed year one out of JUCO as your big guy backup. And, I'll have to see it, but is it better for Murphy? Is it better for Keyshawn to be able to play some 4 instead of, being just a true center? Bruce mentioned he could play the 4 or the 5, and if you get the right big man, maybe it can offer Keyshawn Murphy the opportunity to play a little bit more power forward as well, and you can have a really big lineup, similar to last year when you had Dylan and Janai in the game. I like Murphy's skill set as a 5. I want him as close to the basket as possible, but again, I trust Bruce. So whatever Bruce wants to do, I'm a little bit concerned about backup point guard. You're going to have to platoon it, or you're going to have to just completely depend on Caden Magwood, which I think he could do it. But it's a risk. It's definitely a risk. So we'll see what happens. One more big. Who could that be? Not a lot left in the portal, but you've seen Bruce be able to pull these rabbits out of his hat time after time after time. So I don't expect anything less here. I expect Auburn to find a pretty good addition to really complete this team that has a lot of promise. And it really, really reminds me a lot of the feelings I had when you had this past team 2 years ago when they first all got together, when Chad first enrolled, when Chaney first enrolled, when you had a lot of these guys, you're like, I don't know. They got potential, and then they lit it up and won the SEC tournament. So we'll see what happens. I would imagine it can't go on too much longer with the portal being closed. You probably got to get that last. There's going to be a lot of folks fighting over what's left. So you got to, if you're going to get somebody, you got to get it done. So guys, I really appreciate it. Let me know what you think. Am I overboard? Do you agree? Do you agree with the whole situation? Do you agree with what Auburn's doing? Do you agree with what's going on in collegiate sports and schools and collectives fighting back? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Guys, you need to sign up for thebarnauburn.com. We've been talking about this for a while. Great conversation, great community. You can take $25 off your annual membership. It's just the place to be, man. The place to be if you're an Auburn sports fan and you love talking with other Auburn sports fans. It's just awesome. And then we got some great recruiting info, portal info, team info, all kind of good stuff. So it's the place to be. Check it out. Don't forget to go to mybookie.ag. Take advantage of that coupon code, that 50% deposit bonus. And like this video if you like it. If you like the channel, subscribe to it. Hit that alert so you know when we're dropping new content. We got new content going dang near every single day. If really appreciate it. We'll be back again soon. It's another episode of the Top Button Podcast. Stay buttoned.
Thanks for listening, and drive home safely.